Encounter is brought to you by the Broome County Council of Churches, where we connect compassion with needs as we inspire growth with dignity. You'll find us in special places throughout the community. For those who remain hungry, we provide meals. For those who are challenged, we build wheelchair ramps. We comfort those who are ill, minister to those who are confined, and we remain an advocate for change and understanding on behalf of every element of our community. Connect and inspire. Encounter the Broome County Council of Churches.
Friends, welcome to the Encounter program sponsored by the Broome County Council of Churches. I'm your host, Mark Kimplin, the pastor at the Endwell United Methodist Church. Throughout the years on the Encounter program, I've taken great pride, and I just love the opportunity to sit and chat and learn more from my colleagues, from other pastors who are serving faithfully in this area. And today, in this show, is one of those times. I'd like to introduce to all of you the pastor at the Union Center and Wesley United Methodist Churches, the Reverend David McKinney, to the Encounter program. David, glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here also.
This has been a while to try to make this happen. You've been on my list to try to get you here for some time, so I'm glad that we made this happen. Why don't we start here? Can you give our viewers and our listeners a little background, a little history of David McKinney, growing up and kind of your formative years and perhaps your education and such things?
Sure. I grew up in Lockport, New York, Niagara County. Actually was there until I moved down to here. I'm son of two school teachers, so education was an important feature in life. I originally went to Purdue after high school because I had an interest in computers, so I was going to program. That didn't work quite the same. It was a new department and a long way from home. So I went back to the thing I loved, which was drafting. So I got an associate's degree from community college up there and worked 21 years or so for engineering companies, doing various things from survey, structural design, highway design, civil site survey, kind of groundwork mostly. And eventually worked myself into the IT department. Part of it was I was the only guy in the office who knew what the inside of a computer looked like. That helped.
Yes.
But then I ended up supporting software for a number of years. I started out 7 years for Wendell, and then I was laid off and bounced around a little bit, and then worked for Sear Brown, who was then bought out by Stantec, which has an office in this area. And by the time I was in Stantec, it was about 2000 that I went over into IT. They bought out Sear Brown in 2004, and then I ended up to be an East Coast regional rep for software as far as helping resolve issues and such, and one piece of software across the United States and Canada. So it was a little busy.
Yes, yeah.
But it was good.
So that encompassed over 20 years of your life then?
Oh, that
20
was
plus.
20 plus, yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, I'm from work-wise. I mean, I grew up, I ran track, cross-country in high school, we raced sailboats. I had all sorts of fun like that, which stopped the minute I started working.
Yes. Yeah. Funny how that happens sometimes.
Funny how that happens,
yes.
yeah. But, I mean, that was rewarding, working with the computers and helping people, and actually it gave me background for what I do today.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. Somewhere in there, I'd be interested to hear this. There was a call on your life. Can you kind of work through that a little bit with me?
Well, the interesting thing is that call started when I was at Purdue and I was looking to change, and I did one of these surveys and it said, well, ministry is one of your top choices, and I said, not a chance in the world at 19 am I going into ministry.
Yes.
Not interested at all.
Yes.
So God's very patient.
Yes.
And actually developed my skill set through working in small groups with, for standards or whatever it may be in the engineering companies, and also doing help desk work and whatever else I was doing. And about 2003, it's pretty funny because inside of the church bulletin, which I did read, I can prove I read it, because in there was a line about lay speaking. In week one, I looked at it and I said, okay, week 2, I looked at it and said, and my wife said, something tells me you're supposed to do that. And I said, yeah, I think you're right. So week 3 comes around. This is how quick I am, I think. We look at each other and we say, yeah, we need to do this.
Okay, okay.
So I went to the lay speaking class, and Rodney Milam, a pastor in Oakfield, said, so why are you here? I said, I don't know, other than the fact I'm supposed to be. He goes, okay, so you're going to become a pastor? I said, I can't even answer that one.
Right.
And I went through a walk to Emmaus at that point in time, which certainly helped develop my faith journey.
Sure.
And I just started shifting along and becoming more involved in the church. I became lay leader. I went on to the advanced lay speaking at the time and spoke in a couple other churches and became lay leader. And then as I determined that I was going to go into ministry, which in itself was interesting because that's the last thing. I'm a nice, quiet, shy guy. That was the last place I thought I was going to be, was up in front of the church.
Sure.
My pastors were encouraging me in the process. Great folks. And I found myself being drawn closer and closer. And I didn't even realize the fact that that survey that I took at 18, 19 years old was there until I sat inside of Faith Barker Church with my first mentor helping me discern this calling that I felt. And it shows up again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yes.
Wow, that's a number of years in through there. And look where I am.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about taking that and having my first mentor at Faith Barker, that was my first church I was appointed to also as an associate pastor. Talk about the tie that comes around there.
You know, one of the things, despite our flaws and our shortcomings, it's an amazing process. You know, when you take a look at it and see where God has been working and God has put people in your life and helped you discern and understand and take that next step, whatever that next step is. And
I will say I've taken it slow. I started in about 2003.
Okay.
Went to the local pastoral licensing school in 2005. The first appointment was in 2010. And I'm still working towards ordination now. I've always said I've taken it slow for a very good reason. It takes me a while to understand how God's at work in the process and how God is changing me and developing me. And I'm so thankful.
Yeah,
and I really am.
I truly believe that's one of the strengths, at least of the United Methodist system, that you can take your time, and it is intentional, and it is at times laborious, and at times it's all of these things. But amidst all of that, there is wisdom in there to be able to take that time to discern.
Yeah,
and see
because each time I go through the next step, I meet more people.
Yes.
And develop more things and do more studies or whatever it may be. And I look back and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of change in my life from the time I was 19 and from the time I was in 2003 even. Yeah. And look where I am now.
Yes, yes.
A couple miles from home, even though this is home.
Amazing journey.
Amazing turn.
Yes. Friends, we're with the Reverend David McKinney, the pastor at the Union Center in Wesley United Methodist Churches today, and kind of discussing his call. And so eventually there comes a time once you take this journey from that time in Purdue to where you are and taking lay speaking and entering the candidacy process and all of that and becoming a licensed pastor, there comes a time that you receive a phone call to go and serve.
Absolutely.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
The interesting thing was I was an associate for the first 4 years of ministry. I had gone through Roberts Wesleyan, my undergraduate. Outside of the drafting is organizational management, which I thought tied in well with ministry.
Sure.
And then I was gearing up in 2008. I went online because I was still working at Stantec to Asbury. I started the process, and then 2 months later, the door closed on that, and here I was in seminary. So by the time 2010 came along, and I received the phone call, which was actually sitting and chatting inside a church and being asked by another pastor to be her associate.
Okay.
I was ready to do that. I had been laid off from Stantec for 2 years. Actually, I got squirrely. I said, can I wash dishes? Can I do something? I can't sit around the house and just do seminary work all day long.
Sure.
So my wife understands me so well. She's like, yeah.
Look at that door for you.
Look at that. Yeah. We'll get you going. And it was between two churches, Faith Barker and County Line. And that went for 3 years as the associate to Karen there. And then they had a little tough between the two of them. And I ended up just inside of Faith Barker, which to me was just a blessing beyond all means. They were nice country folk.
Yes.
And they were developing me, even when I didn't even realize they were developing me. Mm-hmm. And they're telling me, you know, relax, be yourself, use your sense of humor, which you have, but just give us a little time to catch up to it.
Yes.
Which was good.
Yes.
It reformed how I gave sermons and such. And I was bummed when it came time to move on.
And you were there how long? You were there
4 years.
4 years, okay.
Yeah, 4 years as the associate, which it was time for me to move.
Sure.
And everybody realized that.
Yes. Yes.
Then I went to Ontario Street in the city of Buffalo.
Okay.
And St. James and Niagara Falls. Both two different experiences also. Mm-hmm. Ontario Street had really 4 different cultures inside of it. It was Caucasian, United Methodist Church. Just before I came there, a Mizo congregation had joined in, but still kept their service right afterwards because they did it in their native language.
Yes.
But my role was to get those two to talk together.
Good.
Which was really neat.
Yeah.
There was a Hispanic congregation that used the church from Puerto Rico, and there was also an African American.
Wow.
So inside of that culture, that became a year's worth of learning for me on how those.
Yes.
And it was actually Nate, who was a prior pastor there, had signed up for the bishop to come because it was like 175th year of laying of the cornerstone. So 2 weeks in there, I get this letter saying the bishop will be coming and preaching at your church. I was shaking in the boots there.
Yes, no
because
pressure.
there's 5 pages of protocol that came along with it.
Yeah, no pressure. Yeah.
So we're developing this, and actually that gave us an excuse to interact with each other.
Great. Great.
And it turned out to be the best learning experience I could have.
Wonderful.
St. James, it was a wonderful church. They needed a little reorganization, and they were open to that. And I actually had a retired elder helping me in a way because we had set up an outside committee. So if I couldn't handle moving it inside, I turned it over to Wayne, and Wayne took care of it, held that inside of that committee. And we moved them along quite a distance in 1 year to where they were upset that I was moving.
Right.
And I felt like, you know, boy, I could do a little bit more. But we knew it was a 1 year appointment at that time so that I could move along in the ordination process.
So eventually you get the call to become the pastor at the Union Center and Wesley United Methodist Churches.
Absolutely.
Into the Southern Tier.
Into the Southern Tier.
Tell us a little bit about that process. How's it going? What were some of the surprises coming to this area? I'll let you kind of take that and run with it.
Well, the interesting part is I'd been to this area beforehand because we had an office down in this area. So I knew roughly the area. I didn't know all about the culture and all the fine-tuning that you get. It's a little bit interesting because I have a foot in 2 locations because my mother-in-law was up there. She just died this last week. But my folks still live up there. And my wife has another couple years of teaching up there before she can come down. But she comes down on the weekends. So we know the route very well between the two locations. But this is home for us. 2 wonderful churches. I wouldn't have it any other way. Union Center is roughly 70 to 80, sometimes more, on a Sunday morning. Wesley's a small family, 10 to 15 type of setting. 2 different personalities, which is fine. I love that in churches because you end up with more meetings at Union Center than you do at Wesley. Wesley, you can sit down and cover all the 2 months worth of business in 15 minutes, you know, and everybody's happy with that.
Yes, yes.
They are happy, caring for each other. They do monthly potluck, which reaches out into the community, and they'll do a program afterwards. And they'll have a great time with it. It's just more of a relaxed setting. Union Center is more of a structured setting, but there's so much energy inside of that church, I can't keep up with it.
Great, as it should be.
As it should be, absolutely correct. They're wonderful folks that the more I introduce them to things, the more they want to be involved and to reach out into the community. We just started, someone had the idea, come along with the fire departments, come alongside of them. I thought, great. Well, I was a volunteer fireman for a number of years. I worked on paid ambulance. That's right up my alley to get involved with that. So I said, sure, I'll get on board with that. So Main, Union Center, and West Corners, we've been carrying on conversations with them, taking them treats and having a great old time with it. Awesome. They do Trunk or Treat, which is kind of a Halloween setting inside of Union Center. Union Center shows up with a couple of their trucks. Wonderful. It's a great relationship.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
We have a great time with some of that stuff. And we're finishing up Compass program, which is a revitalization. And it's not putting down the past pastor. Every now and then you need to reinvent yourself a little bit and open yourself up to new ideas and take it a little bit farther. And these folks were hungry for that when I got there. Okay. And they start moving ahead even before I can catch up to them, which is a good thing. It's a little challenging at times. So we have like 2 more sessions on that, and they are just, what's next? Wonderful. How can we reach out into the community? What more can we do? Awesome. And that's a great thing.
That's what ministry is all about. Awesome.
It is. And you know, I learned from them in the process because these folks are like, well, can we go and do this? And I'm thinking, I never even thought of that before. Right. So that's a cool awesome thing. Yeah.
Friends, we are chatting today with the Reverend David McKinney, the pastor at the Union Center and Wesley United Methodist Churches. This is kind of a part of the program that, is there anything that you want to plug? Anything you want to share about upcoming events or anything that you want the community to know or things that might be happening in the next few months and such things at either of those 2 churches? Anything you want to promote? We'll allow that.
I can't think of this. Okay. Can't think of anything off the top of my head. There's always something going.
Yes.
Union Center has a Facebook page. I would say check into that.
Wonderful.
Because we put as much as we can up there. Our website is going to get redesigned.
Great.
And that will be a point to check also.
Fantastic. Good.
Wesley hums along. December 8th, we have one of our potlucks. Last month, I don't know what the program is this month. I know it's based on Christmas time, but last month I had an opportunity to spend about an hour and a half talking about the mission trip I took down to the Yucatan Peninsula, and I had probably 180 slides, and they just ate that up and enjoyed that. So we try and do something different all the time with that. Union Center always has something going.
Great.
I mean, whether it's a Wednesday night Bible study.
Yes.
There's also other Bible studies that intermix. There's healthy cooking classes going on now. This is actually, it started out with a person walking up to me and saying, I'd like to share some of the things I've learned, some of the things that have helped me in life. I was like, great. You're going to spearhead it? Go for it. We can all learn. So she did one class, Everybody wanted more of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So she's doing another class now on Tuesday nights.
Wonderful.
There was just another person had done the Daniel plan, which was on healthy living.
Mm-hmm.
So this is now a trend going on inside of the church. There's a group that
Great.
goes in there and exercises. I'm loving every minute of it. That's great.
That's awesome. Good.
So, the church is never sitting
Yeah.
docile.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not meant to be.
Right. Right. Let me ask you this: what's your greatest passions in ministry? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What are the things that you do and time just stands still in ministry? Are there tasks, certain things that God's called you to in ministry that are truly exciting?
All of it is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start with that.
Okay.
And I never would have said that 20 plus years ago.
Okay.
I was the quiet guy in the back. Each Sunday morning is a new experience
Sure
for me.
is. Yeah.
And that's a blessing to me. I grow and change as much as the congregation does. And I'm just thankful for that beyond all means. I enjoy the people. That's part of it for me. Through time, I've become more of a people person, and we're living and walking together.
Good.
That's the part I love about ministry. So we sit in meetings, which meetings are meetings. I mean, business or elsewise, meetings are meetings.
Yes.
But we're kind of defining where we're going. And that's exciting because I'm watching people step up. The healthy cooking class, the Daniel plan, all of those are people that were sitting in the pews that said, hey, I have something to share. And to me, that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's a point I've had to train myself to almost step back and get out of the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And to me, that's a joy.
Sometimes pastoral ministry is being the head cheerleader. It really is.
I'm learning.
It really is.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
I really am. I mean, they're working on getting a men's group together. They had one years ago. Every Wednesday morning, we have breakfast together. I go when I can make it, obviously. But they meet in a diner in Maine. And then they're like, we want to do more. I'm like, go for it. I think it's great. They want to Union Center wants to see my presentation. It's like, plan it.
Yes.
Make it happen.
Yes. Yeah.
You spearhead it. I'll show up with the slides. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
That's fun to me because I watched the care of the seniors, which is a big focus in both churches because we have a lot of older people in our congregations. And I'm amazed. And I shouldn't be. But getting people to doctor's appointments, doing all of that care. And then we get together in meetings. We should focus on this age group. And then somebody comes out of the woodwork and starts spearheading something towards that.
Yes.
That to me encourages me to get up out of bed and to do my part.
Yeah. Awesome. We, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, and to all our viewers and listeners. These are difficult times for the church. We hear not only within the United Methodist tradition, but other denominations of dwindling membership and attendance and participation. What do you see? Are there a few things that you see in our culture that is the church's greatest need? What is it that we need to be doing to further the cause of the Church of Jesus Christ? What do you see there, knowing in this culture that all around us it seems to be crumbling?
Yeah, I look at that as opportunity. I heard that once said by a person. I thought, you're right. Yeah. This is opportunity. Our greatest problem within the church is when we get discouraged. I've looked at folks and I said, listen, whatever's going on in the United Methodist Church, whatever's going on around you, focus at the task at hand. God has called us to this time, to this place, and He's given us this ministry. Let's develop it. Let's go for it. Yeah, we need to re-gear every now and then. We have all sorts of stuff in the community going on. It becomes our our responsibility to use the demographics and whatever else to try and understand that and try and understand where the need is and then develop something and get out there to it. So I try and approach it from a positive because I've heard in every single church that I've served, whether it's from lay all the way to these two that I serve now, my goodness, we're diminishing congregations. We have this, we have that. I looked at one church and I said, have you thought that these 70 or so people that are here want to be here and really love this place? They looked at that and they were like, wow. But they do. These people come here. They need to get energized. They need to understand where God is calling them because that is part of the ministry of the church too.
Yeah.
And that's part of what we're doing inside of Union Center and Wesley as well.
Awesome.
We're understanding who our neighbor is, which is the big task.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Because the neighbor we often assume is inside the church.
Yes, yes.
Or
Yes.
physically who we can
Yes,
see
yes.
in the house next to us.
Yes.
But one of the things I learned going to Mexico and going door to door and reaching out to, through VBSs and through other things down there, they're our neighbor too,
Yes.
in a very real way.
Yes.
I was amazed that we had lectures every morning down there to help us understand the environment we're in, the ministry setting. And I almost think we need to do that in the church today too, to try and help us
Yes.
understand the
Yeah.
community we're
Yeah.
serving better. If you have 3 meals a day, if you have a steady job, if you have a sturdy dwelling to live in, you're in the top 15%
You got it.
wealth-wise. Then
Yeah.
if you have a car, you're in the top 5%.
Sure. Sure.
I came home and I looked and I thought, my goodness, we're in what, the top 0.5%?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a wonderful segue into the Thanksgiving that we will have enjoyed and such things. So,
Absolutely.
David, thank you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your ministry. We are blessed to have you in this area. And I'd like to thank all of you who have joined us in this very important time, in this very important ministry that we share together. And I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving and blessings on this day and all of your days. God bless.